In this video, I'll be showing you exactly how to build this type of slider. Got this slider here by Never. So I like this slider now. So okay, let me show you how to build this with JavaScript, not using React.js or any framework library. Pure JavaScript, pure CSS, pure HTML. So let's get started. So this is the page here, and this is my HTML file, this is my CSS file, this is my HTML file, this is my JavaScript file, this is my data.js. The data.js contains the image, links to the images. So you can see I just created this, exported this object that has a URL that points to the path to the image. This is where the images are suited. These images are the logos actually. So these are their parts. So I'll be using JavaScript to display the images, and I'll use JavaScript to animate them to slide. Everything's going to be done in JavaScript. So let's get started with the HTML. For the HTML, I will be very fast here, and this is the HTML, and I want to change the name to sliders. So the first thing I want to do is to link to this link the CSS file. So this will link this CSS file, and I will be linking slide.js CSS file. Then on the body, I also want to call the script file. I want to call the script file, and it's going to be a type of module, so I can use import function method there, and I will be calling the slider.js file. This is the main JS file for this page, and I want to declare the parent div. The parent div, and I'll give it the class name of main div. So let's tie the main div in CSS. Go to the CSS, you can start the main div. And before then, I always like to have these default CSS settings properties for my CSS file. So let me copy and paste these properties. Okay. All right. So these are the default settings I usually use for my CSS. All right. Then this is the main div. So I can say the width of this should be 100 VW, and the height should be 100 VH, and it should have a display type of flex and a flex direction of column. Okay, let's check the background color to red. Let's see if that is working. Perfect, it's working. So we can remove the background color, we don't need it. So let's declare a div that would house the background image. All right, the background image. So div here is child div that we declare, we'll call this slider div. Slider div would house the image. Okay, this is housing the background image, so let's call it image div. All right, so the image div, this is the image div that will house the background image itself. The background image is this one, this background image. I'm not writing the text, I'm just going to do the image and the slider container here. All right, so here is the background image. I already have a snippet of the code. I will copy and paste it and explain it. Okay, so I've pasted the CSS properties for image div, and here we have the background. I'm using linear gradient, and I am pushing to left, and the color, then the URL. The URL is a part of the image, which is this image here that I'm using as a background. And these are the rest of the properties. Very important here, I made this height to be 80 VH, and the position has to be relative with 100%. Display flex, justify center, item center. All right, so you have this now. When you check out the page, you can see this now. So the next thing we need to do is to incorporate this here, and to do this we have to create another div that would house this one here. So let's look at it here. So we have to create another div here. So this div would be this, and we can call this one slider div. Right, so the slider div, I'll start it on the CSS here. So first thing is the width has to be 60%. All right, the background color has to be white. Okay, and height has to be 30%. It's going to be 30% of this one. And okay, I need to have background CSS shadow box here. So let me copy it. I have it somewhere. Let me copy it and paste here. Okay, so we've added the box shadow, and we need to give it a position of absolute. And then if we look at it here, we can see it here. Okay, and the next thing we would make it top. Position of top should be, let's say, 90%. Perfect. So you can see it's sitting here just the way it's seated here. Okay, so let's change the color to something like gray, little bit of dark white. Okay, so we've got that working. So we need to run the images now there. The logos need to run there. So let's get the logo running here. Let's run the logo here. To do that, we need to use JavaScript. So we have to go to slider.js, and to be sure that JavaScript file is working, let's call the alerts method and say hello. And then we'll go here. You can see that it's working. Good, perfect. So let's begin our JavaScript. The first thing we're going to be doing here is to import the this data file here, the slice. Import the slide images from here. So say from, remember I'm using, then you have to put the file extension .js file. Okay, so here we will be saying slider image. Slider image is fine. All right, so next thing, let's create a function that renders it. So const render logo, function that renders, because we want to render the logo dynamically. So at the global stage, I'll say let slides equals to slider images. All right, so here I would say slides dot for each item index. So can invoke the function already here. Okay, so we have the images here. So next thing we need to do is to create elements using the JavaScript method to create an element, HTML element. So I will say let's slider image, let's image element that is equals to documents dot create element. In this we are creating image. So this is how we create image JavaScript. We create image elements with JavaScript. Then now we've done that, we can use image elements, set the value attribute. So we can say image elements dot set attribute, then we taking this SRS, and here we can say item dot URL. Remember, the URL is the URL of these images. So this is what I'm targeting here. Good. So now I have that. Next thing I need to do is append it to this image div, this slider div. Yeah, this slider div, I need to append to slider div. So let's go back here and get that. So we can say const image div equals to document dot query selector. So we're calling the class name. So we have that. So the next thing we can do, we can say image div dot append child, and we will just pass image element to it. So this way we've created the element, and let's check it out. Good. So you can see the images are aligned here. You can see them. Okay, so let's fix this here. So we need to use display flex here. So we have this slider image as the, so you can say position display flex direction row. So you look at it now, it's perfect. All of the images are now sitting with each other. Then we will say, let's now add a class to the image. So we can style the image. They are very big. So if you come here, you can add class. You can say image element dot set attribute targeting class. Then I can add class here. So I can call it image. So let's go to the CSS and declare this class image. Then we can say that the width is 130 pixel, the height is 130 pixel, the border radius is 100%. Let's check it out. As you can see. Okay, so let's make this align item center. Let's see. Perfect. So you can see if all properly aligned now. Okay, so let's add opacity to this one. Opacity, and let's make it 0.5 to reduce the, okay, something like this. Okay, so let's see how we can animate this. For now, you can see it's all overflowing to this point. So what you can do is to add overflow hidden. So that way, add overflow hidden to slider. This should be here. Yes, the div housing the image. Good. Let's declare a CSS property for animation. So slider animation. So we would say transition is going to be 0.50 seconds, and going to be ease in. It can be linear. Let's try linear. So now we can add this class to the JavaScript function. So let's go to JavaScript, and here that we added class, we can add extra class here. Just by creating space, you can add more classes, up to 3 for any amount you want. So we have this class added to the image tag. Now the next thing I need to do is to create the animation itself. So I'll create a function called const move animation. Is a function, and what this function does is simply allow the images or logos to slide interval. So I'm using the JavaScript set interval to achieve this. So I will say, however, before I do that, I need to get all the children of this div. This is the div that houses all of this, and these stuffs here, these logos are actually the children. Okay, so before then, let me add margin left of 3 pixel. Okay, because I'll be animating from the left, so I'll say left 0 pixel. Then I want to invoke this function already. Would have after the function have been invoked. Okay, something like this. Okay, so let's get the slides themselves, the logos. Let's get them individually. So to do that, we'll say const image sliders equals to image div dot children. That's this div, which is this div, this div, which is this div. Remember, this div slider div is what we have here. Exactly, and that's where you have those images. Those images are rendered in it. That's here. So we can get the children of that particular div. So now we have the children of that particular div. It's actually if you do console.log image sliders, you see here, where is it? You see, where is it here? Go here. So you can see it's basically those images here. Look at them here, those images. That's it. So that's what you have access when you use children. So using for loop, I would loop into this and let's say set interval. Use set interval first. We'll be doing that every 2 seconds. It should animate. So using that, I can say for say let I equals to 0, I is less than image sliders dot length I plus plus. So here you have it, and so you have this now. Then you can add the class individually here. So you can say image sliders, then targeting the I individual index dot style dot left equals to, now let's say it's equals to minus 100 pixel. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, to get this to work, the left property is not working because my CSS image itself should have a position of relative. So position relative. So it should have a position of relative. Now if you check it out, you can see that it's moving. So we can check this at minus 100. Good. So you can see it's moving. So what we need to do now is to make it dynamic. And to make it dynamic, I would need to declare a variable here. So let's let slider count equals to 0. So we can increment this slider count here. When we get here, we can say that slider count is equal to slider count plus number 100. So we add 100, we increment 100 each time. Then we can do it here and say slider count. So you can see slider count. So when we check it out now, you can see it's moving. However, you can see this happening. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to invoke this function. Remember, this function is what generates those logos. Okay, we need to find a way to invoke this function whenever we get to the last slide. So how do we get to the last slide? So we can say here, we can write the conditional statement as a if I, which is this place, remember this increment by 1. So if at the position of I is equals to slides, we're looking at slides. Remember we have slides here, dot length minus 1. This is how you get the last slide in array, because array start from index 0. This is the slides here. So if at any point I, which increment by 1, become the last slide, so we just want to revoke render logo. Render logo. Okay, so this should be able to keep it moving in infinite mode. Now this may not be the best for performance sake, however it gets to show you how this is done using vanilla JavaScript. You can see it restarts from Google logo, and this is just how it will keep animating until, yes, it just keep animating this way. It won't stop, and this is exactly how it is done. So this may not be the best for performance, however you can see how it got the job done. Very easy, very fast. So you can improve this by adding the text, or you can actually add this as well. If you look at this place, when you hover on this, it changes color. So you can actually make this possible by when you hover on this, it changes color. Okay, so let's make that clickable. but you can add that functionality yourself. So come here and say cursor pointer. Okay, so now cursor can change when it gets here. So add an effect or function that can change the color of this, or better still, a function that can stop the animation once you hover on this, and it will continue once you move out of the face, out of the interface. All right, so thank you for watching. Do have a wonderful day.